Thank you so much for doing this interview with me, my friend. How does it feel being here in Toronto? The Indy, we're, as we speak, a couple of days away. You got to be excited about this.
I'm ecstatic. I mean, it's going to be my first time doing the Honda Toronto Indy as a professional driver. I drove it in 2007 as a youngster in one of the support classes. So coming back here as a professional is going to be great. I've been racing in Europe for a long time, so I feel like this is just all a long time coming, and it's going to be so cool to see so much friends and family, so much hometown support. I grew up in Guelph, so like this race, I have a lot of childhood memories here.
Do you remember being in the crowd watching this growing up?
I think we did every Fast Friday, every Fan Friday imaginable throughout my whole childhood, because when I was racing go-karts, we would come for the Fan Friday and then Saturday go to the go-kart track to race on the weekends. So we did a lot of the Fan Fridays, and honestly, I've met some of my idols. I met Greg Moore here before he passed, and he was my hero growing up. So that was a big day for me. Just being around the racetrack, as a little kid, you're always that starstruck kid running around. So it was a lot of really fun memories here.
I remember those days too. I'll tell you something. Those days were crazy, big time though. But for you though, growing up in Guelph and watching your heroes, why did they become your heroes? Why was this something that somehow you knew you were connected with?
To be honest, I don't know. I liked Greg Moore's driving style, and I liked how he presented himself as a person off track. At the time I was 6, 7 years old, and I was like, that's someone I want to aspire to be. I want to be similar to him because he was always a fan favorite. He was liked by everybody, and he was really quick in the car as well. He was, destined for championships until that fatal day. So it was, a tough loss for everybody. But to be honest, after that day, I never really looked up to anyone else. I kind of went rogue and just kind of focused on my own thing.
And that's the thing, though, the love of driving. What is it for you?
It's a lot. I mean, I don't know why, but from a young age, I just loved playing with cars instead of, G.I. Joes or Nerf guns or something.
Wait. I'm a big fan of G.I. Joe, and I'm talking old school G.I. Joe, the 12-inch version of it. So let's not. We can go to the Nerf, but G.I. Joe's still number one for me.
All right, we'll agree to disagree. But but for me, I was this kind of pesky little kid where I was a pain in the butt, didn't want to play with anything else. And my dad threw me a toy car, and I was wheeling it around on the carpet. And they're like, "Oh, okay." Then they bought me more and more and more.
But did they ever think that you would somehow be in the driver's seat one of these days?
I don't think so. I remember actually when I was probably 8 years old, we already been go-karting for 1 year. And I told my parents, I want to be a race car driver one day. And they're like, okay, Robert, go to sleep. And then, but then later that night, they're like, what? You want to be a race car driver? It's like at that time, it's like saying you want to go to the moon, you want to be an astronaut. It's just like, it seems like this unachievable task, right? I come from a family of pretty modest means, and motorsports is an extremely expensive sport. So right at that time, they're like, oh God, how are we gonna make this kid's dream come true? But
and how did they do it?
A lot of hard work and a massive amount of sacrifice, and honestly just a lot of good people coming in at the right time. And it wasn't a solo effort. It was really a lot of friends, a lot of family, a lot of companies that sponsored me along the way to get to where we are. And the biggest thing was the huge family support from my older brother to my mom, my dad, grandparents, relatives. It was a full family effort to get me to where I am.
You mentioned about Europe. What was that like living abroad?
It was interesting. I moved over to Austria when I was 17.
17?
Yeah, 17 years old. I was actually living in Indianapolis when I was 16 years old for racing as well. So it makes you mature really quickly. But I got to see some beautiful places. I got to live in the Austrian Alps. I've got to live in London. I've got to live in Monaco, Berlin. I've been around the block in Europe, I guess. But I'm ready to come home, and that was a big reason why I wanted to jump into the Verizon IndyCar Series, was just to get back into North America and settle down a bit, because I was always living in Europe, but I always called North America and Canada my home, and I was coming back as often as possible. And I think it was just taking a toll on me, because my fiance is from Toronto. All my family was still in Toronto, so it was tough always kind of working in Europe and feeling kind of alone a little bit. So I'm happy to be back.
How's the circuit been for you so far?
So far, it's been good. It's been challenging. I mean, we're still trying to get that first win, but we've got some pole positions, we've got some podium finishes, we've got a lot of top fives, a lot of top tens. So we're currently 6th in the championship ahead of this weekend. hopefully we can keep chipping away at that, and it would be a dream come true if we can get our first win here at the Honda Toronto Indy.
So what are the things that you're looking at with this track? It looks like it's going to be a great weekend, so you don't have to worry about rain. Because I've talked to drivers before, and they've said that when that thing can get slick, man, your forearms feel like they're going to fall apart and trying to keep things so tight. What are some of the things that you're looking to conquer, and who are some of the drivers that you're kind of going, I got to look over my shoulder at them?
To be honest, every driver. The Verizon IndyCar Championship is so competitive. Anyone on that grid can win the race, and you've seen it this year. I think there's been 7 or 8 different race winners at least, and luckily I'm not one yet, but I need to change that. But to be honest, I don't know in terms of this circuit what I'm going to be expecting. I drove here, like I said, in 2007, a long time ago. The track's changed, surface has changed. I think the course actually changed once they built the Hotel X. So honestly, I'm not really fully prepared for what to expect, but I think that's been a great thing for me in my rookie season is I've gone into every race with zero expectation, and I'm just driving for the passion and driving for the fun and trying to get the results. So, I think sometimes expectations can kill you. As soon as you expect something, I feel like you're setting yourself up for failure. So
yeah, but you know what, man, you're following your dream, and if that is the thing, I am so happy for you. There are people out there who want to follow their dreams, whether it's behind the wheel or in front of a stage or whatever. What advice can you give them that hopefully they'll be able to achieve what you've been able to achieve?
The biggest thing I could give, like best advice I could give anybody is just give 100% all the time, and especially in a sport-based thing. Like I only know for motorsports, I can't speak for someone trying to become an artist or something. But with me, it's like there'll be a race that might be a low level, even a regional club level race. But if you treat that like it's the biggest race of your life, you never know, right place, right time. Someone recognizes what you've done, and something great will happen. And that happened with me, where we were almost out of money. I wanted to do this one race, and I impressed Red Bull, and they put me on the Red Bull driver development program, and I spent 5 years with them. They took me over to Europe, and that's what skyrocketed my career to where it is now. And it's just one of those things, right place, right time, but you always have to make sure that you're on your A game all the time, and it's exhausting. It seems like not really that great of advice, but like I tell kids all the time in racing, like give it 100% all the time. Testing is what makes you a better driver. Practice is what makes you a better driver. Even though it might be boring to some people, that's what makes you the person that you are, and you just have to keep digging and keep working hard.
My friend, congratulations on all this. Congratulations on the upcoming wedding, and more importantly, man, congratulations on the fact that your dream is coming true to be part of this Indy race.
Hey, thanks a lot.